Edith Wolek. So good to have you here today on the ABCs of Leadership. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are talking about the letter C, whichever way this camera is showing. So tell us about the letter C, why you picked this word, and what that means to you in terms of leadership.
Thank you, Trina, for inviting me to speak about courage. I believe that we all get to have some courage and create courage. So for me, courage is a big word um, because I have spent most of my life in fear,
Oh,
and fear of being successful, fear of showing, fear of speaking. So I loved hiding behind the computer, just put myself, hopefully nobody's going to come and talk to me because I am a branding designer, so I want to be creative. I'm creating on the computer, but do not dare come to speak with me because I felt like I could not communicate with anybody. Like I was in anxiety every time somebody came over to me, especially at work. Oh, I was like getting flustered, getting anxiety or panic attack when somebody came to speak with me. Will I say the right thing? Will I have the right answer? Like so many different things were coming to my head, and like overthinking, because I have analytical brain and creative brain. I always create that anxiety for me. That has been holding me all my life. And when I realized that everything that I have and I need to live and to be successful and to create abundance, create freedom is within me.
wow.
And courage is one of the words that get to be brought out for me to see, you are courageous. Look what you have done. Look what you've created. And, every time I acknowledge myself, I get to celebrate myself. I get to celebrate the amazing family I have created, the children that I have created, the relationships I created with my friends, with my cousins, with my grandparents who passed away, unfortunately. Uh, but we were just speaking about my grandma. She's still there. She is still here, and she's still supporting me every
From
time.
so she's passed away and you can still feel her spirit close. Yes,
Definitely.
absolutely. Yeah.
I can sense her being near me. And there was one particular moment that I knew she was with me all the way. So in 2016, 2016, I for the few years prior to that, I have been generating this excitement because I have been designing a cycling jerseys for 5 years, every single year. The charity came around and they said, "Oh, can you do a cycling shirt for me, for us?" And I kept on designing every single year, and I kept thinking, oh my goodness, I really want to go on this ride, but it's 100 miles ride. And every single year I was like, oh, I really want to go, but I'm scared to go on the bike. I haven't been on a bike for 20 odd years. And like, I don't know whether I can even cycle. And this is a road bike, it's a professional. Like all so many things in my in so many fears that I was creating, and there was this one moment I said, yeah, I'm signing up. So I signed up. I had about 3 to 4 months of training to train myself to go further and further to complete the 100-mile bike ride with the charity, which was about over 100 people joined on that bike ride. So every single time, especially during the ride, when I started riding, I knew my grandma was with me and she was pushing me and she was generating that energy for me to keep going, even though we were like we had real hills and like odd areas to ride through, and like it was tough. Imagine sitting on a bike for 9 hours, nine
Oh
hours,
man.
and she was there with me all the time.
Oh, this is so beautiful. I didn't know that this story was gonna come up. This is like so in alignment with my vision of, or like the thing, something that I realized this year of like these two little key scriptures right at the end of the Old Testament. And so I've been talking about that a bit, like the two little scriptures that are kind of this key of how do you lift all the curses? Like when we show up in this like world that is full of fear and like things happening, wars in the world right now, how do we like lift those curses and have courage in those moments? And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's you know, as you turn your heart to your grandma, to your family, right? Like whether she's here or whether her heritage is running through whether she's here or whether you feel her in spirit, her heritage runs through your brain and your body and your, you know, your life she's in your DNA. and I just love how you're sharing how you're overcoming that curse of fear. And I just say curse just because it relates to I'm bringing it back to the wording in that scripture, but just like, but it is a curse, really, right? It's like, how do we overcome that? Well, the courage from your connection with your grandma of knowing, oh, wow, like she's here, she's got this. That is so cool. I've actually had so many experiences like that this year of, you know, kind of maybe doubting or, you know, like maybe I've been showing up, um, less than I could be. And what gives me courage is a book that my grandpa had written about you know, he had built a grazing co-op. And the fact that it was so important to him to make sure that that was written down so that when he was gone, we would still have the stories. And isn't that incredible? Like when you can really connect to the fact that, wow, these people love me. They had the courage to have babies and the courage to, you know, it takes a lot of courage as a mom, right?
You totally need to get to have courage when you are a mom every single time,
Every
whether
single
they
day, yeah.
when they go to school, you get to let them go. Uh, when you being, changing nappies, changing diapers, you get to have courage to do the dirty work around the children. And we also create not resistance, resilience to and to create bigger and better things in the world. Every single time you have a child, one child is different from the other, and you get to adopt. And you get,
Adapt, yeah. You get to adapt to the new child, right? Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Isn't that wild? That's so funny because, yeah, I think at the beginning I had shown like the see either way, but it's really, you know, the parentheses, right? That's cool that this conversation is bringing us back to the courage that it takes as a parent and how do you lead, right? Like as a parent, you're like, oh man, it's like you said, the dirty work. And I just like to take a minute because I had some like dirty work this morning as a parent. Like honestly, it takes a little bit of courage here to be vulnerable. And I created some chaos and some dysfunction this morning in my family. And it took courage for me to look in the mirror And then I came upstairs. Finally got the kids off to school. And um I came upstairs and somebody from our, like our hardcore world had that I'd met at a live event down in Austin, that I'd made a connection with there. He had sent me some message about, some encouraging message about he had tried to have an event and nobody showed up, but he's like, success is just going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And I was like, oh, brother, oh, Patrick Hoffman, he's working on creating a conscious community. And I'm like, God bless you. What a gift to be able to receive those messages. And I just want to say to you, Edith, like you were my coach in HCL 40, right? And it's just this whole journey of coming together in community with coaches who give in generosity is making all the difference in my world. It's been a game changer for me, right? Like people who have only known me for like less than 20 years don't recognize me. And I just want to say thank you for standing up in courage, for being willing to you were my coach in the Wonder Women. We were the Wonder Women. And
Yes,
like
we
what
can.
a gift that like such connection in that community. And then that, we ended that program back in May and now it's December and you and I are in this global game changers community, like team
Yeah,
together.
yeah, master leaders.
And it just that's what gives me courage, right? Like when I mess up as a mom, I'm like, before before when the kids were young, I didn't have the courage to be honest about how I was really struggling. And this time, I've recreated some of the same situations that spun me into dysfunction as a postpartum mom, right? Like I was not a healthy mom postpartum. And this time I've had the courage to be able to, oh wow, I really messed up today. Oh, or wow, man, like I just really feel like escaping today. Or oh wow, I did this thing. And just having that courage and then having the team. Like, and I want to say just thank you so much for you being part of this team because you're always encouraging me, right? Like you just you just show up with a smile and love and encouragement. And I want to say how much I appreciate you. You and I are on the relationships captain teams. And so we
We,
get to spend time together in Global Game Changers. And I just want to say thank you so much. So I want to turn this back to you and I want you to tell us more because like I'm really excited for you and just the fact that you're doing things that like what caused you to want to like you wanted to hide behind your computer and now you're heading to a Toastmasters meeting after our meeting here and you're branding and you're being courageous. I've seen your shares on Facebook and Instagram and you're just, you got on that bicycle and I remember you did an Ironman over the month, whatever that was. Like you've been doing so many courageous things and you've got like a magazine all about courage. So tell us more about this. Like how did this, first of all, how did you get the courage to just like decide that you're gonna do these hard things? And how did you get now to where you are today?
thank you, Trina, so much for this because we, as especially as mothers, we rarely, if we don't have the skills of leadership, we can easily get lost in like the overwhelm and limiting beliefs and other people judging us, you know, oh, you, this mother, oh, you didn't do this, so you forgot to change kids clothes or whatever. We always have these other external forces and
Right.
external judgments of others, but if we don't have leadership, it's so easy to pick everything up. Oh yeah, that's mine. Oh yeah, yeah, I haven't done it. So, and blame and shame and collect that over the years and it builds up.
Onto ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
So we sacrifice, that's, we are the sacrificial lambs. and we get to stand powerfully in our leadership and invest in ourselves, um, and educate ourselves about our power, about the things that we get to step into, and couple of words like courage and power and love are one of my words that I step into every time I wake up. I envision myself being powerful and courageous and loving. So we get to start our day just like that. And thank you for asking about the magazine, because I have not been a business owner up until 3 years ago. 3 years ago, what happened is I have been made redundant from 7-year long job, a contract from a corporate world, corporate company, and I was made redundant, and that was before COVID happened. They just said, "Oh, we restructuring and we letting people go." So entire design studio was got let go. So me with 3 children, husband, mortgage, cars, and everything, I got into overwhelm and I got into panic mode, and I spent the next 6 months being depressed, being very depressed, and COVID didn't help because
Oh no.
started. COVID started 2 months after I have been made redundant. So
Right.
no
Oh,
job
at least
opportunity.
the rest of the world was with you. Oh, that's
No, I
hard on
know.
so many people, right? You're like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. So many people lost lives and everything else. So I felt still lucky that I have my health, I have my children, I have my family. So after 6 months, I said, you know what? I have enough of the being down. I picked up a book I was reading, Fear It and Do It Anyway.
love it.
And
So
that
good.
the momentum, I registered my business. I started reaching out to my clients. I started reaching out to relationships that I already built through the corporate jobs. I created clients on a go, and I've enrolled people into my vision of having a business, and supporting them and serving them with their branding, with their marketing materials, with collaterals, everything, websites and event building and website building. So I was in generosity of giving constantly. And then I had a vision, and it has been evoked, of creating a magazine, because that has been my lifelong dream to have a publication. So I brainstormed, I learned how to create, like I knew how to design the magazine, but I didn't know how to do the rest of the work, the mechanics behind actual publication and spreading the word. So within 3 months, I had my brand.
Wow.
I had my brand. I started market the business. I started advertising, and that created momentum again. And I am now in the third edition of the magazine. So
Wow.
next edition is coming up on the 28th of January, which is my
Oh,
birthday.
that's your birthday?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. That's so cool.
My
Aw.
third edition of Courage Magazine Global. So yeah, fear it and do it anyway. That's all what is courage about.
Oh, I love that.
I
Yeah,
am.
I love that. What the heck, hey? Go for it anyways. Let's do this. It's just like, yeah, isn't that cool? That's wild. I just love to hear your story because you've like it's just such a stark contrast of having been so scared about it and then being willing to step out in courage. And what a difference, because I know how much of a difference. Like I mean, we all love you. Like anybody that I've met that knows you loves you, right? And so what a gift to us and to the world for you to step out in courage and share yourself, right? To get over that story of like, oh, like I'm not important. I don't have anything to share. Like, don't look at me, right? And it's like, what? Actually, no, like we want to see you. You have so much love in your heart and you show up you show up with like such a kindness and just like love and grace. And you're always just so you're a very supportive person of just being gentle. And I'm just even thinking back to what, the chaos I created this morning, how this conversation with you really can help me go back into that situation and approach it with a more, gentle, loving, um, uh, person, like approach to be able to, to change that. So thank you so much for having courage to share. And I'm betting that you have interviewed, haven't you interviewed quite a few of courageous people for your magazine? Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So in this year, I have been interviewing courageous women every single Monday. And it has been amazing to create community that we can all share our experiences. And we are finding out we are all the same. That,
Isn't that so funny? We judge ourselves, hey? Or like, it's like
that's
you
the,
said as a mom, you're like, oh, I messed that up, and you pour on the blame, and then you're like, I'm such a terrible mom, and then you're like, oh wait,
yeah, all the
she's
same.
struggling with the same stuff too, and she's still an awesome lady. I know that. Maybe her kids aren't telling her she's awesome, but I can, and that'll give her courage to go back and like lead those kids, right? So. Oh, wow. So I imagine you've learned like lots. Like tell us about some of the like pearls of wisdom. This is a huge one, right? We're all the same. What else have you learned from these courageous women?
We all are the same and we want the same things. The same, we want freedom, we want abundance, we want love from others and creating relationships, you know, as as much what how important it is to create relationship.
Yeah.
Every single person that you know talks to you or communicates with you. We all have relationships,
Yeah.
but what is the quality of that relationship? And we get to choose a relationship that we want to improve, and we can scale it from, see where we are with that relationship from 1 to 0 is nothing. The person is not existing. So
Yeah.
from 10, where are you on that scale with that relationship? So if you are about 6 7, then what is in the gap between 7 and 10, and what can you create to close that gap to create 10 out of 10 relationship with that person?
Right.
Some Sometimes people think like, oh, I don't like people, I don't want to connect with anybody, but I want to find love. Like, can't do that.
I know work.
Get to start small and start reaching out, putting yourself forward. I've been married for 24 and a half years now, so
No, and
I
I love your story about being courageous and chasing down your boyfriend, and you're like, he's the father of my children. I can't let him go. I love that story. Oh, we can tell it. We can share it another time. But that was just another story of you like being courageous. And look at you 23 years later. You were right. And you've been
Yeah.
courageous in creating that beautiful relationship that can last with him.
100%. So we get to be courageous to go out and reach out and, create that relationship with others. And not only like, hi, bye, you've got to go deep. You've got to share your experiences. You've got to share your talents. You've got and connect that way. And it's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just we get to find courage to actually do that.
Yeah.
Get out of our comfort zone. That's all. To
Yeah.
get out of your comfort zone, and keep pushing forward to create that bond,
Yeah.
because we create bonds. You can choose not to have a relationship with somebody, but that's your responsibility. You choose not to have a relationship. That's, leadership. That's 100%
Right. And
level.
there's so many, yeah. And just on that note, there's so many relationships that like maybe we've chosen out of that relationship because of some, like some separation, like discord, some anger, frustration, or resentment. There's something there that's causing a disconnection in that relationship. And it was so cool because when we were in that live event in Austin recently, um, uh, so Shanda had asked people, she's just like, okay, like she gave the people who'd been through the hardcore leadership a chance to say, well, what, like just share why they felt it was good. And there was so many of those conversations of like those people saying like, I got to spend time with my dad like this year. And it's like, obviously that wasn't happening before because of some reason, and it was painful. And you could just tell that the way that they had said it is like, um, I don't know if there's a bigger gift you could give me, right? Like sometimes it's like we're like, ah, man, I just don't, like this is right before Christmas. People are having conversations about like, oh, having to go hang out with the family, right? There's discord in some families. And just the fact that our divorce rate is like up over 50% might be a little clue to the fact that people are struggling with leadership in their relationships and that this causes massive pain in their hearts. And so to be able to learn how to lead conversations in a way that creates connection and repairs those bonds quickly. Like we were talking to, because I was in a Dan Clan meeting with Danielle um, just before our interview here, and Danielle Lagano was saying that, after I think she's been in leadership for like 2 years, so she's been working on up leveling, right? So she went through it first herself, and then she comes back and like coaches and learns a little bit more, and comes back and coaches again and learns a little bit more. And now she's in like our global game changers, our PhD, where we're like, okay, we're working on being master leaders here. How can we like really lead our lives? And she said she had this conversation with her niece that at the beginning they weren't even talking, and by the end of it they were hugging and loving. And I was just like, oh wow, that's so awesome that it can happen quick. And she's like, it took me like 2 years to get to that place where I know how to lead the conversation to change it quickly. And I guess that's my vision with the ABCs of leadership, is that we can like share the things that we're learning with the people that'll listen, that are willing to have the courage to look inside themselves and say, you know, okay, whatever was happening in that situation wasn't working. What can we do different? How can we heal this? And how can we stand for a world that's, you know, like stand for love and peace and connection and
That's a
courage?
powerful statement. We always have the opportunity to choose now, choose new moment and
Yeah.
start, you know, that's what it is. Like, forget about everything else, what happened, and perhaps not forget, but like, sit in now. Like you can go through all the different motions that are happening and let go of your feelings that have been holding you back. And of course, like we go through process of forgiveness for ourselves and the mirror work and all different techniques that to let go
Yeah.
and can choose now and move forward. Choose
Yeah.
what do you want to do next,
Yeah.
whether you want to create amazing 10 out of 10 relationship with that person or not.
Yeah.
The
Thank you.
the big question is, what do you want now?
I love that. That is so good. I love this because it's like, um, oh, there's just so many things that I want to talk about that. If people are like, why are you bringing this anger to me? Oh, well, it feels so good. Like I'm just loving this feeling of regret right now, or like revenge. I'm like, okay, awesome, sit with that. But like, but it's like really, if you sit with it long enough, is that like might feel good in a minute, but then ask them a little bit later, and they'll be like, oh yeah, no. What I really want is love, right? Like the reason I want revenge is because they're not giving me that peace and love or respect or honor, whatever that it is you feel are missing. That's why you want the revenge. If you like really dig underneath that a little bit, then you'll find that we just all want to be loved, right? We want to be
Have you
able to
seen,
give and receive love.
yeah, have you seen the toddlers that start throwing things, like damaging all the furniture because they are
Yeah.
angry? They are angry because their parents are not giving that love. They're not
Something inside them isn't right and they don't know what it is, right?
and
Yeah.
all they the way they can show by showing frustration, anger, biting. There are so many different things. So we've got to be looking at ourselves and not from the point of blaming ourselves, like, oh, I'm a bad parent, I'm a
Right.
bad person. But look, did I spend time with my daughter, with my son? Did I connect with them? How long did I have a conversation with them? Did I ask them? Was I curious what they were doing, what they were, uh, what they were up to? Have I wondered, what's happening with my child?
Yeah. Yeah. And how are they a reflection to me? Because
Yeah.
your kids
What's
are, who said that? Somebody said that in the last week or something. Your kids are your laboratory, like your families are your laboratories. It's like, okay, let's do an experiment. Like, right? Like, and then you get to, as you experiment in your families, you get to learn and and really, yeah, learn to love. So, ah, that is so
Yeah.
cool. I want to bring this back um for a minute. It's when we're recording this, it's right before Christmas. And 6 days till Christmas. And I want to bring this back because for me as a Christian, and not everybody, like for those that aren't Christian, there's no judgment or imposition of my faith on anyone. But for me as a Christian, it's just like Christ actually gives me courage. And it almost kind of like a Dumbo's feather, right? Like Dumbo, the elephant that's like, well, I can't fly, but it's just like hold on to this feather and you can fly. And then it like that gave him the Dumbo the courage to fly. And Christ gives me the courage because in this moment, it's like when I'm uh have messed up, Christ tells me, he's like, I can make that, the mess that you've created, I'll make that white as snow. This wall was actually red when I moved in here. My bathroom's still bright red, and I've shared posts with this on social. And I was like, I'm going to paint that scarlet wall white, and it's going to be my Isaiah 118. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. And that, like, to me, that's just a true principle, whatever language or religion that you ascribe to, the true principle is, you know, the truth about ourselves is we're good and we're kind, and we are divine infinite beings of love and light, and the experiment in this world is choosing, well, what would that feel like to be angry or whatever. And when we can trust that Jesus Christ is right there to wash us away, we can get back and reset to, okay, well, this is who we truly are, right? Is our divine nature. I'm a child of God.
Yeah, beautifully said. Religion does give you that additional support,
Hmm.
and nothing else is there. You can choose religion, and it's going to show you the way.
Yeah.
Many things happen, like you wander in the church and you go in, you pray, God, show me the sign, and always does.
It does. And I love that you use the word religion, because I live with a Hindu lady, a Hindu family, a couple, a Hindu couple. And that's something that my eyes have really opened up to this year is, because she would be like, whenever I would do my Christian stuff, so reading our scriptures or listening to our church talks, she'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds just like our beliefs. And I was like, really? Like from my perspective, it seems so different. And after a year of living with her, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. At the basis of it all, the teaching, is um true teaching brings us all to one another, to uniting as a human family, right? It's like, oh, we're all part of the same family, right? It's like we can love one another, we can be kind to one another. All these true principles that kind of doesn't matter where you are in the world, like the truth about a good human is the truth about a good human here or in India or in Africa or whatever, right? Like a good human is kind of like a universal concept. And so
Yeah.
there is unity around sort of like the essence of who we are as children of God, and having courage to be kind when you don't understand other people and to not have to judge them,
Hmm.
right? Like that's the one thing I learned in leadership was when I stepped into leadership back in January. I learned I didn't have to make other people wrong, and that has been the greatest gift. I don't have to make you wrong just because you believe different than me, right? If we all zoom out a little bit, right? When we get stuck in our own little boxes, we're like, well, no, this is different, that's different, yeah, but like if you just get this overview, like get up in a spaceship and look at the world and like um it's you get a perspective and you see, hey, we're all part of the same world, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful from up there.
Mm,
When you look at the world, it's we are one. We are one world. And people, through centuries have been, trying to prove I'm better than the other one, you know, wars in the world, you
yeah,
know, politicians, different rivalries, it's all throughout history. Ev Up until now, have been showing us that they cannot be win-win situation.
yeah.
Somebody has got to lose. Someone has to be better. Someone have to be richer. No, there could be one thing, for all. We can be unity as one.
Well,
I
and
don't.
even, yeah, and I guess I would speak to that in the fact that it's okay to be different, that being one, because this is what I've been saying. So in the Christian scriptures, it said like Christ says, well, that we're all the body of Christ. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so if you can relate humanity to a body, well, like some humans are going to look like hair, and some humans are going to look like faces, and some humans are going to look like hands. We don't have to be the same to be part of the same body, right? We don't all have to be rich. Some people want to be rich. Some people like, because I hear this, right? Like I hang out with people who like the Puerto Ricans who love the, the big fancy stuff. And they're like, man, life looks so good from a limousine. I'm like, dang girl, my favorite thing is being in a dirty pickup truck, heading to the hardware, on, and back to the cow pasture, like bring me some cow shit. Like, sorry, anyways, I'll have to edit that out. But anyways, like just, like the the dirt on the coveralls, like that's beautiful to me. And there gets to be farmers who get dirty to feed the rest of the world. And we all have got our individual, um, we've all got our individual roles and instructions. And
Yeah.
so when we can understand that, I don't have to make you wrong because you've got a different job in this world than me, right? And you've got different instructions. You've got a job to do over there and I've got a job to do here. And it's like equating it to a puzzle too. When I was down, this Holly girl gave me this beautiful thought when I was down in Austin, and she's like said she's really good at puzzles, and in puzzles, no two pieces are the same, but they're all part of the same puzzle. They all have different colors, and so to me, it's like I don't know. I think that's just such a beautiful unifying thought of yes, we get to be one, and that means we get to be individual and creative and unique and to love one another despite our differences. And to me, that takes courage. So,
Thus, we are the piece of the puzzle of the big.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has just been, I just feel so much love. I feel like, I don't know if people can relate to this, but I feel like heat in my body, which to me is like a connection to spirit of principles that are true and right. And I felt that so much today. And thank you so much, Edith, for being here with me. I really appreciate you. Any final thoughts that you want to wrap up with?
Fear it and do it anyway.
Yes.
Create your vision, create your family, create what you want. It's all um, within you, within your own powers.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing your courage, your courageous message, and for sharing yourself. Like you make a difference, Edith. You really do. And I love you. Thank you so
Much.
much. God bless you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye bye.